It's Rob Bauer with Sharp College Football. Got to get that down. Welcome back to another Saturday 6. This is your first time tuning in. Oh, man, I got to light out. There we go. All right. I was in a rush. Welcome back to another Saturday 6, where we run through 6 games for the coming college football weekend. In this case, one of these games is on Friday. We go ahead when we run through these. What we're going to do is we're going to cover them from an advanced stats perspective. We're going to cover them out of the advanced stats system beta rank, which is the one that I designed. I'm Rob Bauer, the econometrician chicken behind beta rank. So we're going to run through these 6 games at about 5 minutes a pop, running through them and comparing offense, defense, what they're good at, what they're not good at, where some advantages might be coming into this game, what the expectations are for the game coming out of the model. And I try to stick to the 5 minutes. I'm normally pretty good at it, but occasionally I do run over. And yeah, we got good games. I mean, like, we learned a lot this last weekend. I think that there is definitely there was some weather, and this happens every college football season, of course, right? But there was some weather that impacted some teams. I mean, I think Ohio State may be getting a bit of an unfair knock, in the modeling from their game at Northwestern for this week. Hopefully that they will have, some performances that right the ship, statistically speaking, this week and the following week before we get Michigan. We also had some weather in Oregon State versus Washington. The Utah-Arizona game had some weather. There was some pretty crazy weather out there that I think had some impact on some games. But I am really excited for this week's set of games too. I mean, we also had last week, we had the great Georgia-Tennessee game. And one of the, I think, really big findings coming out of that game as we get more data into the system is Georgia's defense is just incredible. I forgot to do it still says week 10. It's week 11. I'm freaking busy. I'm traveling for work starting tomorrow. Anyway, that's on me. But we also have offenses that right now, both Tennessee and Ohio State are grading out below 2 in beta rank. We're not seeing offenses in the range that we had seen from 2017 through, say, 2020. This looks a lot more like last season, where we have offenses that are below the 2 mark, and we have an excellent Georgia defense that's sitting around the 1.7 mark. The negative 1.7 mark in beta rank. And that's going to prop up the dogs. I mean, if they absolutely have a good enough offense, and without anyone having an outstanding offense this season, this could be a year where another great defensive performance is going to get you over the top. At least that's the way it looks right now. I mean, Ohio State has the potential to maybe get there, but I'm not sure anyone else really does. I mean, the rest of this season may come down to if Georgia lives up. We have a considerable amount of data in on the dogs. I mean, and everyone at this point. If people continue to live up to where they are, teams are going to need Georgia to commit a lot of mistakes in order to catch them. Which I think is, in some ways is sort of less interesting. Oh man, of course we'd be having internet issues right now. Anyway, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I think it's definitely more exciting when you're looking at the potential, and we haven't had this in a little bit. I mean, like the 2019 season was a little bit of a, almost too good to be true, right? Where we had really good college football teams across the board, and this season and really the last couple seasons, it's been pretty obvious who the number 1 team is. And like Georgia had a really unlucky game against Alabama last season in the SEC championship, and then made up for it in the national title game. So let's go ahead and hop in. I'm excited for this week's slate of games. We've got another really good slate of games the following week, which is really going to, I think, in large part determine who is represented in the Pac-12 championship game. And honestly, like if the Pac-12 was able to line it up, I mean, if it shakes out for the best for the Pac-12, like the best case scenario for the Pac-12 is going to be a situation where they have they have 2 1-loss teams in the Pac-12 championship game. That would be a significant gain for the Pac-12 because it's unlikely that the committee would keep a 1-loss conference championship out. So let's go ahead and hop over and take a look at the games. So first off is TCU at Texas. This is a really, really interesting game. Texas is, of course, under Steve Sarkisian. TCU's under first-year head coach Sonny Dykes. We've got the Texas offense right now, also coached by Sarkisian, going up against this TCU defense coached by Joseph Gillespie. The first year, he was one of the best group of 5 coordinators when he was at Tulsa. This Texas offense right now is really good. We've got them at number 12 overall. They've just been really inconsistent. So they're at number 7 overall in drive efficiency. They do a good job finishing off drives, turning them into points. They're at number 9 in explosive drives. And I think this is really this is another really good number for them. They do put up big plays at a really consistent clip. They're at 23 in play efficiency. This is the least important of the core 4 beta rank metrics. But their yards per play outside of explosives, controlling for opponent field position, still remains good. The number that really hurts them, and this is a big nod to the consistency issues that they're having, is negative drives. 37 in negative drives, too many 3 and outs, too many turnovers. They really have struggled here. And they don't have a really big run pass split. 18 in effective rush, 17 in effective pass. Quinn Ewers is going to be back for this game. He had easily his worst outing of the season against Oklahoma State. He was decent against Kansas State, not great. But he's going to get to go against a far easier opponent, I think, and barring a really bad set of mistakes. This TCU defense is significantly improved over where they were last season. So sitting at 31 overall, they were in triple digits last season, as I recall. 42 in drive efficiency. They've definitely given up some drive for points, but they do a pretty good job. And this is a middle of the road Power 5 defense. They do a pretty good job containing big plays, 27 in explosive drives. They're better at play efficiency at containing the yards per play. Their negative drives number's okay. Number 36 overall on negative drives. But 23 in effective rush, 45 in effective pass. They're definitely better against the run than they have been against the pass up to this point, and that's something that I think to potentially keep an eye on here. To watch out for. I am excited. This TCU defense, though, I'm excited to see this Texas offense here, but this is going to be an easier matchup for them than the Kansas State game was. Barring a couple Ewers mistakes, they should be able to put up points at a pretty good clip in this game. You flip it around, this is a really good matchup. This TCU offense under Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's little brother, which I think everybody probably points out to him all the time, I'm sure. He gets called out on every single broadcast. They're at 46 in drive efficiency. This is something that they absolutely need to work on and improve on. They're just not sustaining drives at the clip they need to do in order to put up more points, but they're an explosive offense, number 19 overall here. Their play efficiency number is quite good. They're at number 12 in negative drives. They mostly do a good job avoiding 3 and outs, avoiding turnovers, coming onto the field with a plan, and at least, doing something field position wise and helping out their defense. No big run pass split, 22 in effective rush versus 29 in effective pass. Max Duggan's your QB here. He's got 66% completion percentage, 9.9 per. I should have mentioned Quinn Ewers is at 57.8 completion percentage, 7.7 per. And his last 2 games, I think he's both been sub 60% on his completion percentage. He's got to have a better game this week. This Texas defense under Pete Kwiatkowski is really improved over where they were last season as well. They're sitting in a good spot in drive efficiency, number 12 here, number 9 in explosive drives. They would do a really good job containing big plays. Now their play efficiency number, and again, this isn't the biggest metric in there. All the other 3 carry more weight. But they can give up some yards per play. Negative drives is a little bit of a watch out here. They're number 38. They definitely give up more like they definitely give up first downs more often than they should. When they get back on the field, they need to find ways to get off the field, force more 3-and-outs, force more turnovers. If they're able to do that down the back stretch, like they'll end up shutting down more offenses. But they have a pretty big run pass split. They're a lot better against the run than they are against the pass. I'm interested to see can TCU exploit this a little bit, this run pass split, and be able to put up some more points. We've got this as Texas at home with a 73% win probability and 7.9 on the spread. This should be a really tight game. Look, if Texas turns the ball over once, TCU absolutely has a shot to win this game, or just makes a dumb mistake and ends up not coming away with points. This is a really good game too. It's overshadowed. I mean, I feel like it's overshadowed a little bit within the Pac-12 because next weekend, of course, Utah is coming to Eugene, here. But Washington now is going to be in Eugene this week, and this isn't a gimme for Oregon here. And the Ducks have largely within the Pac-12, other than that game against UCLA and Washington State, like the Pac-12 has a lot of teams, sort of shuffling around on the bottom, and Oregon's going to get to face it off. I mean, for the first time since UCLA, they're going to get to face an offense that puts up points at a clip near theirs. But the flip side is Washington, of course, is one of the couple of Pac-12 teams that just doesn't play any defense this season. So Oregon comes in over. Kenny Dillingham is your offensive play caller. Dan Lanning's your head coach. Kalen DeBoer is your head coach at Washington. Dillingham's offense has really taken off, in particular since that Georgia game. They're at number 24 in drive efficiency. So here's one to watch out for. They really rely on explosive plays. Relatively speaking, they do find ways to stub their toes and not finish drives and put up points every once in a while. It hasn't mattered. I mean, they haven't played anybody of note in a while. Their play efficiency number is good, but I mean, they're number 2 right now in explosive drives. I believe Georgia's number 1 in explosive drives right now. So they are an extremely explosive offense, and that's where they hang their hat. They're at number 9 at negative drives. They avoid 3-and-outs, they avoid turnovers, and they don't have a real big run pass split. They rely on each to be able to put up points. It's a very balanced offense. Bo Nix has been terrific this season. Also being able to key off the run, I think, has helped him tremendously. 73.3% completion percentage, 9.1 per. They're going to get a Washington defense under first-year DC William Inge that is just flat out struggling. And this is a flip. I mean, of course, because under the Chris Peterson and even carrying in to the following era, Washington was a defense first team. They're really struggling. So 79, this is, I grade Power 5 units on a 1 to 65 scale. We're clearly outside of that. This is a very bad Power 5 defense. You can put together long drives for points against the Huskies, 76 in explosive drives. You can absolutely put up big plays against this unit. But and they don't have, there's not really much to hang your hat on here, right? Like negative drives at 78. There's not really anything that's going to jump out. They are better against the run than they are against the pass. Some of that is selection. They're so bad against the pass that teams are just lighting them up and often avoiding running the football. But the way that they, Washington faces so many passes, and they should be lining up with a bit of a light box. It does reflect, however, that Washington, because this for defense, it is calculated at the margin. They do a pretty good job stopping the run, relatively speaking. That said, Oregon's fully, unless there's some weather condition like there was in Seattle, should be able to exploit Washington's poor secondary. You flip it around, you've got a very good Washington offense under Ryan Grubb. Number 16 overall here. They're number 2 in drive efficiency. So this is a little bit of a flip from Oregon. Like they really do a good job putting together drives to put up points. They're a little less explosive, sitting at number 40 overall here. Their play efficiency number isn't great, but they avoid 3-and-outs. They avoid turnovers. Like they are a fairly efficient offense that doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Michael Penix is your QB here. 66.5 completion percentage, 8.3 per. They're number 2 in effective pass. I mean, what's coming with Washington. They are absolutely looking to throw the ball early and often. And again, this is he's going to have a bit of a relief. The weather won't be as bad. The defense will be significantly worse than what he saw last week. because this Oregon defense at number 68 is struggling. It's Tosh Lupoi, Dan Lanning calling plays here. 94 in drive efficiency. You can put together long drives against this Duck defense. Now, they do a little bit better of a job containing big plays, and their play efficiency numbers okay. They're at number 58 in negative drives. They are a little better at forcing 3-and-outs and forcing turnovers, but this run-pass split isn't great coming into this game. You can throw all over these Ducks, and teams have. I mean, even Colorado last week put up a pretty good yards per play throwing the football around. They're sitting at 103 in effective pass. I mean, we should expect Washington to be able to move the ball through the air here and somewhat keep up within this game. We've got Oregon as a 77% win probability here, 8.34 as the projected naive spread for this game. Florida State back from the dead, like a little under the radar. Like they've been kind of slowly putting it together. Some guys have been coming back from injury. Mike Norvell's your head coach here. Dino Babers is your head coach for Syracuse. And it feels like these two teams are sort of passing each other, heading in different directions, right? Florida State's number 8 overall offensively. It's likely Mike Norvell calling plays here. Tony White's your play caller for Syracuse on defense. And this Florida State offense is not terribly efficient. So this is something they could improve on down the stretch, is being able to finish more drives, being a more consistent offense, a little better play calling, a little better execution. That drive efficiency number will come up and you'll produce more points per drive. But they're absolutely explosive. So and this can work too. I mean, like the Phil Longo philosophy exists of just swing for the fences, right? Number 5 in explosive drives, number 17 in play efficiency, 6 in negative drives, right? Like they do an excellent job avoiding 3-and-outs and turnovers and putting up big plays. They have a little bit of a run pass split, number 13 in effective rush versus number 8 in effective pass. And really Jordan Travis has done a terrific job. He's at 62.9% completion percentage, 9.1 per. They've been quite good here. Oh man, I forgot to write down who the FSU defensive coordinator was. That was a doofus move. This Syracuse defense, though, with Tony White, this is a significant improvement. They run that San Diego State 3-3-5. That's where Tony White comes out of. They're at 41 in drive efficiency. This is something they can improve on. They need to find a way to get off the field and avoid giving up points. I scale these defensive numbers to the offensive numbers because the offensive numbers are generally higher within beta rank. And I want to make sure that when I show these numbers in this bar chart form, that people get an understanding of like how much better offenses often are at putting up points in particular ways, in particular with explosives. So, offenses that are very good at putting up explosives are going to find ways to put up points, and continue to put up explosives within the game. They do a good job though here at limiting big plays. That's going to get tested here in this game. This matchup should be kind of fun in a lot of ways. Like Syracuse is a worse defense. And in particular, their negative drives number isn't great. They need to force more 3-and-outs and turnovers. And they're in particular, I think, to hang in this game. But they have a huge run pass split, and that's really their problem here. You can run the ball against this Syracuse team. 63 in effective rush. That's a real problem in this game here. You flip it around. The Syracuse offense is really heading in the wrong direction. Robert Anae is your play caller here. He's a really good play caller. Has time from at Virginia. I believe he was OC at Arizona for a little bit, as well as the offensive line coach. They do a really good job with drive efficiency. They put together long drives to be able to put up points. Their explosive drives number isn't great. This is a little bit of a watch out for them here. They have not been able to consistently put up, big plays here. So they have to sustain drives. Their play efficiency number also isn't great. 65 in negative drives, too many 3-and-outs, too many turnovers. I mean, they have to get a lot of stuff to go right. They have to execute, and then they have to move the ball down the field in order to put up points. And they've been struggling at completing that, and they haven't been able to hit big plays as often. And they've had too many 3-and-outs and turnovers in the last couple of weeks. They're at 42 in effective rush versus number 62 in effective pass. That's certainly something to keep an eye on here. It would behoove them certainly to be able to throw the ball a little bit in this game. they might end up a little bit behind early with the way this FSU offense certainly sets up. This Florida State defense, that's what I need to look up real fast. Adam Fuller is your DC for. Look, where they really struggle. I mean, I think this is one of those teams that like they just can't quite get the execution down. Their drive efficiency number, like you could put together drives against these guys to be able to put up points, and that's really kind of been their problem. But their other underlying numbers are good, and often, like if this is a young defense, these kinds of numbers often start to look like a team that might put it together next year. So keep an eye on that. But they do a really good job limiting big plays. They force a lot of 3 and outs with negative drives. They don't have a big run pass split. Neither one of those is great. But mostly like what's to keep an eye on here is like they've traditionally kind of allowed teams to kind of do stuff underneath and get their yards. They're going to need to disrupt Syracuse because Syracuse, that's how they've been, buttering their bread. We've got this as FSU as a 71% win probability, 6.22 per. This is one of the most fun games of the week. I'm really excited for this game. We get a UCF team that is cresting. I mean, they're playing really well under Gus Malzahn this season, and then Tulane under Willie Fritz, who is really good. I mean, in this defense in particular is really good. I'm in this matchup that we're just going to talk about right here. I think is one of the highlight matchups of the weekend. This UCF offense is really humming. Chip Lindsey's your play caller. It may be Malzahn, but Lindsey is likely your play caller here. They are a really explosive offense. So they're at number 12 in explosive drives. Now they're a little less efficient, number 37 here. And as I talked about, where the way I grade Power 5 teams, it's on the 1 to 65 scale. You're going to see some Group of 5 teams that get into that 1 to 65 range. That means they're doing really well for a Group of 5 program to be putting up numbers here. I think in particular for Tulane's defense, this is one of the better Group of 5 defensive performances we've seen of late and really of note. They do a good job at play efficiency. Their negative drive is a little too many 3 and outs, too many turnovers, and they almost shot themselves in the foot. With the backup quarterback when they were going against Cincinnati. They have really gone back to the heavy early Malzahn, run the football first, second, and third. They're at 6 in effective rush, 47 in effective pass. But they've done a really good job here. John Rice Plumlee, the transfer from Ole Miss, he's hitting 64.4% of his passes for 8.7 per. Now this Tulane defense under Chris Hampton, we talked about. This is a really, really good unit. 27 in drive efficiency. They have given up some drives for points, but they do a really good job limiting big plays, and that's going to be kind of an interesting matchup to watch here against UCF. Like how well does Tulane limit big plays is going to tell a lot about this game. Can they force UCF to go the length of the field? 14 in play efficiency, 19 in negative drive. Certainly, if you're Tulane, you'd like to see them hit on some 3 and outs and turnovers. They're not bad. I mean, 25 in effective rush. They're going up against a team that really likes to run the football, but they've done a good job, and they did a decent job limiting Kansas State, another run heavy team earlier this season. They're at 18 in effective pass, so they might feel comfortable stacking the box and letting their corners cover, with this pass grade that they have coming in here. You flip it around. This is a little less sexy, but part of what makes this matchup so interesting and relatively even. You've got Jim Svoboda is your offensive coordinator for Tulane. This is a decent Group of 5 offense, number 53 overall. Now, what they do well is they create long drives to be able to put up points. They're one of those offenses that really executes. They're less good at they're just a less explosive offense overall at number 89 in explosive drives, but they do a really good job avoiding negative drives. 41 there. They avoid 3 and outs. They avoid turnovers. They do smart things with the football. And for the most part, they're able to execute and turn those into points. And when you've got a really good defense, it's often the tale is like, you often have pretty good field position. If you can just avoid mistakes, you're only going to have to get so many first downs if you have good field position off your defense. It'll be interesting in this game because they're facing a really good offense. So they may not start out with in games where they're blowing people out, they're often going to be starting out with really good field position in the game. They do have a bit of a run-pass split here. They run the ball more effectively than they pass it. Number 44 in effective rush versus number 68. Michael Pratt is your quarterback here. 66.7% completion percentage, 8.7 per. We've got this UCF defense here under Travis Williams. This is they're not in the top 25, but this is still a pretty good group of five. This is still a good group of five defense. But what they absolutely hang their hat on is because their offense really is going to get is scoring at such a high clip. They're often starting out with really good field position. And so they have found ways to use the field to their advantage, find ways to get off the field and not give up points with their drive efficiency number. But when they have given up points, it's usually been associated with giving up some big plays, 109 and explosive drives. That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Tulane's able to hit some big plays in this game. Number 42 in play efficiency here, and 76 in negative drives. They don't, relatively speaking, their bread is really buttered on having good field position. And again, that'll be interesting here because there's going to likely be some points in this game where Tulane's defense gifts their offense with some good field position and they just don't have the spot. They don't have a big run pass split here. We've got UCF at a 67% win probability, 4.88, one turnover. This game could turn around pretty quickly. All right, Clemson and Louisville. I think this is an interesting game because I think people have sort of written off Clemson after what was a pretty bad loss. But Clemson actually follows this up with another game that they could easily lose. This offense for, we've got Dabo Swinney, of course, as your head coach at Clemson. Scott Satterfield is your head coach at Louisville. This Louisville defense has been really good. Now we get to see a Clemson offense that feels like it's just stumbling into walls face first. They're at number 32 overall. This is a middle of the road Power 5 offense. 44 in drive efficiency. They struggle to put together drives to put up points. They're not terribly explosive at number 38 overall. I should say here that Brandon Streeter's your offensive coordinator here. Their play efficiency number's fine at 27, and probably their best number here is the 26 in negative drives, avoiding 3 and outs, largely avoiding turnovers. They got stoned last week playing up against a Notre Dame defense that looks like they're putting it together. Maybe Marcus Freeman took back play calling duties. They are a little bit more run heavy than they are pass heavy. 31 in effective rush versus 44 in effective pass. DJ Uiagalelei is struggling. But he's in and has seen the bench. He's at 64.6 completion percentage, 7.3 per. I don't necessarily think this is a quarterback problem. I don't know. If I were him, he probably won't. I might transfer out of here. This offense is in trouble. And it has been. Even going back to last season, the offense has really struggled. They're going to get a really good defense that's really coming into its own under Brian Brown. And for where they were 3 years ago to where they are now, this is a remarkable build, I think, by Louisville. And sticking with him, because there was definitely some dark days where it really did not look like it was working at all. Number 18 overall in drive efficiency. They do a good job finding ways to get off the field, not give up points. They do a pretty good job at avoiding giving up big plays here. Their play efficiency number is really good. Now, this negative drives number, they do get some credit. They did force those 8 turnovers against Wake Forest in one of the worst halves that any team has ever faced, ever somewhat done to themselves, somewhat had done to them, somewhat had luck due to them. But they do a really good job there at forcing 3 and outs and forcing turnovers. Their effective rush number is very good. They really do get up and contain the run. It's going to be interesting to see Clemson try to figure that out and what they're able to accomplish here. They might find themselves having to throw against what is a decent pass defense here at number 25 overall. You flip it around. Scott's out. He's got to be calling plays again. This offense, which for the last couple seasons was carrying the team, is totally in the ditch. If you took the last couple years Louisville offense and put it with this year's defense, you're talking about an actual really fun, interesting team. They're good. I mean, I want to tell you they're 20 overall in beta rank, but like there's a gap between where this defense currently sits and where this offense is. They're at 489 in drive efficiency. They really, really struggle at execution, being able to consistently put drives together and put up points. It's a bummer because their defense is often gifting them good field position. They should be able to turn more drives into points than they are. When they are putting up points, it's usually because they are putting up a big play. Number 34 overall here. This is relatively speaking a pretty good number for them. Their 34 in negative drives is another good one. Avoiding 3 and outs, avoiding turnovers. They just largely need to be a much more consistent offense. Like if they brought down that drive efficiency number and got that in a better place, or improved it and brought down the ranking, however you want to think about it. This offense probably tilts more towards middle of the road in the Power 5, and Louisville probably tilts towards like a fringy top 10 team. They do a good job in effective rush. They really struggle with throwing the football right now. Malik Cunningham's at 61.8% completion percentage, 7.4 per. This Clemson defense under Wes Goodwin is struggling. I mean, to be honest, like this is a better unit than than their offense right now, but not by much. And this is the defense for a long time at Clemson really carried the team under Venables. They've got to refine an identity here. They're at 21 in drive efficiency, 26 in explosive drives. You can put together some longer drives against them. You can find some big plays. They're just not forcing enough 3 and outs, not forcing enough turnovers with this negative drives number. They don't have a really big run pass split. So at least I think that there's that coming into this game, but Louisville is going to test you by trying to run the football. It'll just be interesting if this is a little bit like the Notre Dame game where Notre Dame was gifted a bunch of really good field position. Is Louisville able to pull that off here and put Clemson in a hole? We've got Clemson with a 62% win probability at home, 4.12. One turnover here or there, though, and this game could easily flip around. Clemson's offense has to be feeling it a little bit after having a couple of really bad performances so far this season. Here's another fun Group of 5 game. We're doing 2 this week. So East Carolina at Cincinnati. Mike Houston is your head coach for ECU. Luke Fickell's your head coach at Cincinnati. And this is the headline matchup here. This ECU offense right now is kind of clicking. Donnie Kirkpatrick is your offensive coordinator. Mike Tressel is your defensive coordinator for Cincinnati. And this is they're going to line up, and it's going to be a little bit of strength on strength here for what they do. This offense for ECU doesn't put up big plays at a really big clip. They're at 29 in explosive drives, though. This is a very good Group of 5 offense. They put up big plays at a really good clip. But they're not a terribly efficient offense at being able to put together long drives to put up points. They avoid 3 and outs at a really good clip. That negative drives, the number, they avoid 3 and outs, they avoid turnovers. And their play efficiency number is quite good. Their yards per play outside of explosives. They definitely have a run pass split. They're more dangerous throwing the ball than they are running the ball. And Holton Ahlers, who's their quarterback, is having a really, really good year. 70.1% completion percentage, 8.3 per. He's also a danger to tuck and run a little bit with his legs. They're going to get a Cincinnati defense. This is a really good Group of 5 defense again. 72 in drive efficiency overall. This is where they struggle. Like, you can put together long drives against them to put up points. Like, that's a little bit of their problem here, is like teams are able to get stuff against them, get stuff underneath. They just do a really good job comparatively of containing big plays. And that's going to be an interesting matchup here. Are they able to contain what ECU does? Because ECU hasn't been terribly efficient. They can, stumble if they have to make first down after first down after first down, and they're not hitting big plays along the way. But Cincinnati doesn't force a lot of 3 and outs and turnovers, relatively speaking, and that could hurt them a little bit, right? Like, they could, the cumulative field position effect, right, could be where ECU could flip the field, get good field position the next drive, turn it around, score some points. 39 in effective rush, 33 in effective pass. This is going to be a fun one. I'm really excited, I think, to see how this ECU offense does against a pretty good Group of 5 defense here in Cincinnati. You flip it around though, and buddy, like, and I mean, maybe there's a mea culpa in here for myself because I have made fun of Mike Denbrock tremendously as the offense, and that LSU offense is doing okay. I mean, like, they're not great, but they're doing pretty well. And this offense has really fallen off. So, I mean, and like, you know, Luke Fickell had come out and said that he had already taken away the play calling duties from Denbrock and given them to Gino Godolgi. But like, this offense is really, really struggling this season. They're at number 80 overall. This is a decent group of 5 offense, but compared to where they were, this is an enormous fall off. This is even further than like the bad years under Denbrock when he had Ritter. And they were pretty bad at times. The number 95 in drive efficiency, they struggle to put together long drives to put up points. They're not terribly explosive. 87 in explosive drives. 45 in play efficiency. They do a pretty good job here with negative drives, avoiding 3 and outs, avoiding turnovers, relatively speaking. They have a decent run pass split here. 90 in effective rush versus number 56 in effective pass. They're going to look to throw the ball a little bit more against you and try to be able to put up points that way. They have mostly benefited this season from getting short field from their defense. Like, that's like when if you ask Cincinnati to drive the length of the field, like, it's largely not going to work. So they get an ECU defense that, well, they have some problems. Like, overall, they're good. Like, the numbers are good. You know, like, this is a pretty good group of 5 defense. Should have an advantage overall in this game. You would think they do a good job at drive efficiency, finding ways to avoid, you know, like, get off the field, don't give up long drives, use the field to your advantage. Your offense is good. They're giving you field position to work with. Use that to your advantage. But when they do give up points, it's often off of big plays. 74 in play efficiency here. They're at 40 in negative drives. They do a good job forcing 3 and outs and turnovers, but the enormous watch out in this game for ECU is they really give up yards passing. Like, at the margin, their yards per play that they give up passing, in particular compared to other defenses and what they're giving up per run, is they are really a much more of an effective team at stopping the run than they are against the pass. And Cincinnati is going to lean a little bit into the pass, and they should be able to find guys open. Cincinnati also has a bit of a special teams advantage in this game. We have this as a pick 'em, you know, between these two teams. This could turn on. This could very well turn on this matchup here, and whether Cincinnati actually does have a comparative advantage throwing the football in this game. So that's it. That's the games for this week. I gotta run to pick up my kid, actually. So I'm excited. Tune in. You know, we'll update Beta Rank again on Sunday, and then we've only got one more week of SCS games after this week, and then we're going to be heading into the playoff selection show for the FCS, and we'll try to certainly preview that as well as previewing the playoff games when those come for the FCS. I'm really excited. The model had a really good week last week, 60% against the spread. It feels like we're dialed in now that we've got more games in. Finally, this is a weird year compared to last year. Like, last year, Beta Rank was on fire after like week 7 forward. This year, it took a little more time to really dial in. Yeah, let's do the creds. Oh, anyway. You can find all the stats you just saw and a whole lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I'm Rob Bauer, the econometrician, economechicken behind Beta Rank. You can find me at Beta Rank FB and at Sharp College Football. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12 Pack Radio, and you can find all the back episodes of that at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pack Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you out there next week.